have not met yet, Mike Greene, I'm your new city administrator. Been here about a month. Before Garrett came from St. Clair Shores, where I served past about 2.5 years as their assistant city manager. I've been in this local government line of work for probably 7 years now, from communities the size of 1,500 all the way to 60,000 on the shores. So I've seen a little bit of everything in this line of work. Absolute pleasure to be here in Lathrop Village. I think this town has so much potential, and I think we can do some really good things. So the purpose of this meeting, it's for me to kind of get feedback of what you expect out of the city. We're not going to be talking hard numbers tonight, nothing like that. I've just started kicking off budget meetings with my staff to go over that. We won't have hard numbers probably for another month, month and a half. But this at least gives me an idea of what you guys expect from the city for the next fiscal year. The city's fiscal year runs July 1 through June, so just keep that in mind when you're talking about this. So the way tonight's going to work, it's a little interactive session. As you see, we got posters up all around the wall, and I have some prompts at each little section. All the prompts are kind of pretty much the main topics related to what I see when I review the budget. So we have technology, so this can be anything from website, newsletter, videos. We have government services, which is admin, code enforcement, building services. Public works is pretty much park maintenance, snow plowing, brush pickup, things like that. We have economic development, so business attraction, development, tourism, marketing. And also with economic development, you'll see something back there where I'm kind of looking for input from you guys for what kind of businesses do you want to see in Lathrop Village. Naturally, as the city, we only control that so much, but the fact that we have so much communication with developers and landlords, I can at least take that info and tell them so they can go and try to attract the right kind of folks to our city. Public safety, police, fire, EMS, dispatch, pretty simple. Parks and Rec, so leagues, community events, playground equipment, walking paths. Everything on these lists are just kind of ideas. This is what I was thinking of to hopefully get your guys' brains thinking. We also have infrastructure, streets, sidewalks, culverts, water, sewer, and then naturally I have other up here, which we'll get to. This is anything that you guys are thinking of that is not covered in any of these prompts. So what I'm looking for you is in a little bit, we'll break up into groups of 4 or 5. We'll all separate into little sections, and amongst yourselves, think of ideas that relate to these topics and write them on the posters. That way, I can take this tomorrow and over the next couple weeks, build off of it, work with my staff, work with city council to see if we can fit some of your guys' priorities into the budget. Naturally, as a disclaimer, I gotta say, I'm not gonna get everything. We all know that. But I'm gonna try to do my best. Naturally, we have capital improvements that we wanna do every single year. We gotta take care of our staff, we gotta take care of our infrastructure. We have all the basics that we need to cover, and then I'm gonna try my best to get to our priorities. So to kick us off, if you guys amongst yourselves can separate in groups of 4 or 5 and go to each topic, and we'll get started. From there, we'll do Q&A too. Thank you. I'll give you guys about 5 minutes at each section. I know the first group will probably have the most ideas for that section, and then if you follow up that group and you think, oh, that's a fantastic idea. So say, for example, parks. Do you think the city should emphasize community events this next year? Just start. If someone else has already written it. We don't need to be repetitive throughout it. It might get a little confusing for me when I summarize this all tomorrow. So before we get started, questions?
Yes, I have a question. Pam has retired.
Yes.
I'm wondering who's handling the banking.
Yeah, so our day-to-day of our banking is handled between Plant Moran, so outside accounting firm, and our deputy treasurer. We have extended an offer to a new finance director. We gotta wait for a few weeks until city council approves them, as they have to via our charter. But as of right now, Plant Moran is handling our day-to-day.
Aren't they the auditors though?
They are no longer our auditors. They cannot serve as our auditors, and this is a conflict of interest. So they have technically resigned as our auditors. We'll go out and bid and get new auditors for this next year. Any other questions before we get started? If not, if you guys can separate into groups a little 4 and 5. If I have to, I'll make you guys count by 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, after 5 minutes, we'll rotate each, and everyone will hit every single section.
I'm gonna go say hi to her.
If it does, I'll be.
So it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
On each table, there are some markers that you guys can write with. Also on the tables, you will see little inserts from our master plan if you guys need any little prompts. If you have any questions throughout, please raise your hand and I will come on over to you. Thank you guys for coming out. So far, good turnout.
Somebody wrote that up.
Yeah, it's a couple months ago.
I'm gonna add to them.
I would put it in as.
Okay, so for all of us who have not seen everything written down, never mind, I'm not gonna walk around and read them all. This mic doesn't want to work like that. But before we leave, I'll have another step for you guys, as in giving each of these topics rankings. So we'll do that before everyone leaves, so you can take your time, review what everyone wrote down, kind of go from there. That helps give me a true idea of which topic you guys will think is the highest priority. But we'll do that right before that. Our next step, as a lot of you asked, we have a little other section up here. This is for you guys to kind of give me ideas of some other topics you believe we should be focused on with the budget this next year that wasn't related to any of these. Naturally, I try to keep these topics as broad as possible, but cover as most of the government as we could. So now I'm here to listen to some other ideas. We'll throw this on the sheet up here and kind of go from there. So if anyone has anything, raise your hand.
Pam brought this up before she left at one of our council meetings, and I thought it was a great idea because it does relate to budget, but it is putting together a resident finance committee. A finance committee of residents.
Blue Ribbon Finance Committee.
Yeah, blue ribbon.
He has a blue magic marker. That's great.
What would it do?
It would be tasked with looking at the budget every month, like reporting to the residents and to council if they see anything.
Brand mentioned that and coming out with some type of structure, some type of form that could be filled out, that we all, could be part of. Because it didn't sound like there was much of that.
No, it was very hard to follow the old budget.
I'd say one thing with the budget and numbers, luckily only being here a month, I know there's some people that are very detailed about it. One thing that's going to happen this next year, there's going to be all new budget numbers. Not the budget that gets approved by council, but come fall, we'll be updating our chart of accounts to match the state mandate. So everything's going to kind of modify a little bit. It's still going to be balanced because I got to present a balanced budget. But topics, for example, one thing with the state, there needs to be a very specific elections section. Right now we don't have that. Starting in a couple years, it's going to be able to change like that. But when you mentioned that, I know exactly what you're talking about.
One thing that has changed as far as city council meetings is limits on the amount of time you have to make a point. We never had that previously. It was kind of an honor system. If somebody got out of line, you said, "Could you wrap it up, please?" So that's what's that?
Public comment section you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
There weren't time limits. The other thing is you actually got your questions answered
Yeah.
by members of city council, specifically the mayor. So that's something, it's one thing for a person to ask a question that 100 people want to ask, and then that person is the only one who gets the answer. You should be sharing that information with all of us in real time.
I would like to have us look at committee structures. Our city charter does not allow for standing committees, which is kind of what the infrastructure committee was for 4 years, with this council person heading that up and making recommendations of over $30 million of budget expenditures. And the marijuana study group was 5 people, and Barb and I had met with Kelly Garrett right after we were elected, and I asked about the committee situation because that was something that was new, and she said that was something that was her idea, and she thought Bruce had gotten a little carried away, but there is nothing in place that says what these committees. Personally, I don't think a council person should be heading up the committees. They can be a liaison. They should not be voting. They should not be heading it up.
Right.
I don't know why there's a limit of 5 people. If we have 20 people that want to be on Parks and Recreation Committee, why not take them? I mean, bring our people together. Same thing with the tree committee. That isn't something you could have a committee, apparently, Scott Baker said that you can have a committee that has an ending time on it. But our tree committee should not have an ending time on it. And again, that should not be headed up by a council person. It should be, headed up by a resident with support from the city, and then with as many people as want to be on it as did. Alan will talk about the Blue Ribbon committees. I was a co-chair of the Headley Override Committee, I think it was 2010, and I think we had 35 people. Anyone that wanted to come was welcome. And if we did not have people from the different stakeholder groups, they were invited, so that we made sure that people, from the entire community had representation. And so that was I thought a great model of way to do things. But now these groups are exclusionary, and the mayor has the power to appoint whoever she wants, and that doesn't create effective committees, and it isn't allowed under the charter. So that's something
I would
think
like to
needs
see,
be addressed.
on the same note that Karen's talking about, why is it that the mayor is the one that picks this individual for that committee? Why does she? If she is the mayor, I guess, I'd rather see somebody, like yourself. I'd rather see somebody like that. Or maybe a joint of the council members, all 5 of them decide. Because I sort of do find these committees are sort of like, they're biased.
Just
They don't have
handpicked.
a good mix of people.
They've been stacked.
Yeah, it's a stacked up. So take the everybody.
Write that
The only
Cover
question on
structure.
the
I go the way my brain works. I got structure.
I'd like to see citizen surveys reintroduced. That's something that went away probably 8 years ago, and that gives you a sense of how you're doing, what needs to be improved, and are we improving our performance in whatever aspect.
So based on history, you thinking yearly? Is that not just
What we did is we did 25% of our residents every year. So in essence, you were surveyed every 4 years.
So yeah, yearly survey quarterly. Okay,
Yeah, so
I was curious about
it
structure.
wasn't a killer as far as budget, but it got valuable information.
And collect that data
Yeah.
and use it. We have these events and we'll say, oh, well, they were a great success. Well, how many people were there? Well, we don't know. Well, is this something worth doing? Is this something that residents want? We need to collect that data to see if, if it's something that the residents, right, want their tax dollars spent on.
This could be a big thing, but it could be maybe taken in chunks. Right? So we're a city like every other city. There's 100 things we have to do like every other city. Some of them we do, some of them we outsource. I think it would be good to evaluate some of the big items, and we've listed it on a couple of them, like the police, like the public services. Can we combine with other cities? Can we take outsource things back in to save money or improve service? Since we are looking at budget right now, and we might not be able to do it in time for the budget July 1st, but as an ongoing review, set up a
in here is very frustrated about things that have gone away, that we used to have, that we don't have anymore. But I think we're also very realistic about the economies that we're dealing with. And so there, you know, if we had volunteers and tap the volunteers that have the skills and the tools, it would take some of that burden off the staff so they could focus on the things they need to focus on. And we could perhaps have better services because we'd have people with the skill sets doing what, you know, what could be done better.
Hey, Susan?
Yeah.
I read what some of these other cities are doing just that, but instead of actually paying them, what they're doing is they're giving them reductions to their taxes. So instead of, you know, hey, I'm retired, I've got 20 hours a week, you need somebody to do some filing, you need somebody to do, anything in the office, anything outside.
Yes, or even
Paying me money.
content on the
You're just
website.
reducing my taxes by X amount of dollars per hour of thing. And I think you would get some great, you know, volunteers that are qualified individuals right here in your backyard.
Is that legal?
I think you just get creative in how you pay them per se. That's the answer to that.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, one more thing, I wasn't gonna say anything. I just wanna know, when that budget was passed for this year, we found out we were $397,000. That $397,000 less than what we were told we had. What is gonna happen this year? What's gonna be impacted, with that $400,000? Because we were really gonna be depleting the, general balance, you know, anyway, without taking that $400,000 into consideration. So I haven't heard any talks about cutting anything. I've heard talks about generating revenue, additional revenue. Well, we don't, you know, we've got a lot on our plates already, and I don't know that we want to, you know, be taxed more, be another capital improvement bonds or whatever. What is going to happen? What is going to be cut, and how are you going to involve residents in making those decisions?
Yeah, so for the first part, I've just kicked off budget meetings with staff. So right now, it's them giving their dream, they give me their dream budget. Money was an option, what do you guys want for this next year? They give me that, I look at it, and then that's when I start looking at the hard numbers with the county, seeing where our taxes are gonna be, see what's gonna come in revenue wise, and then from there, I do the initial cut.
I get that, but we're in the middle of the budget cycle,
Yep.
and that is $400,000 less than what we thought it was. That's what I'm talking about, what is gonna happen right now, not, you know, for next year. We have some issues right now, and I haven't seen anything, being dealt with.
Now I understand the question. So that's something I work with Plain Moran on. So what we're doing with them on board, we're evaluating everything that comes in, and then for this, it's forecasting. One of the big hits that the city took this year was the way all the expenses fell from sidewalks, culvert, all those programs, and all that special assessment went up. So unfortunately, the city had to front that bill. And the way we do things like this, we don't see that revenue for another year or two. So on paper, it doesn't look good. There's no doubt about it. So it's doing that forecast to see if that $400,000 hit that we're taking this year, is it going to be back in the next 2 years, and are we going to be fine?
That always happens.
Yeah.
We always have a special assessment at the end of the year because there are a lot of people who play the game of let my water bills go to my summer taxes,
Absolutely.
and I'll try to write it off.
Absolutely.
So that's always happened. It's always been an issue.
And part of that's the way cities schedule projects. That's another issue. I've had this in every single city. That the same thing hits. If you do a big project like this, your general fund, you see it take a massive hit.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it looks awful on paper, but in a year or two, everything's back to normal. So it's something I just have to continuously evaluate while we're going through this process.
Can you define our relationship with Plant Moran at this moment? Because that's the first I've heard they're on board.
Yeah, so Plain Moran resigned as our city auditors as of about 4 weeks ago. At the council meeting in January, council approved them to serve as essentially our chief accountant until we get a new finance director, city treasurer on board. So they're helping us on the day-to-day aspect of our finance.
Are they involved with helping to interview the candidates?
The answer to that, no, because Greene serves as the reference for a few of them, so I did not want to have them on the interview panel. I have,
How's that process going?
good, I have an offer extended to a finance director, and pending how it goes at the February meeting, they could be on board.
Fabulous.
Why did they resign?
For them, they since they've been our auditors for so long, they realized some issues that have come up with previous audits, so they felt in their capacity they could serve the city better in this current role versus being an auditor.
At what, $3,800 a month, is that what we read?
Roughly, yeah. Depending, it's going to be up or down depending how many hours they work.
So they can't stand by their audit? Is that why?
No, their audit met all expectations and met all the state. It's just
Well, that's good, then why would they wanna continue? I didn't.
it's conflict of interest.
It can't be
Yeah.
both, I get that. But why would you now all of a sudden not be the auditor?
Because the city wasn't implementing what they were recommending every year for the past 5 or 6 years in their audit. So no one's implementing what they said is right, or fixing what they have said is wrong. So now they're helping fix what's wrong.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Part of our problem is, a couple of administrators ago, we had, our staff was increased considerably. And we feel, some of us feel our city's too small for the staff we have, and they also are given far too many chances for substandard work. And I'm hoping that you're gonna do something about that.
That's part of the review for the budget. And say for the work, staff has been nothing but great for me so far. So I can't, I've only been here a month. I know everyone else has more experience. I'm just going based off what I have right now.
You're not great to the residents.
At all.
And that's something we're going to evaluate over this next time. But as of right now, sorry. I do. I have not done one yet because I've only been here a month. But
I don't know, now I don't know, do you, are they regularly scheduled?
yeah, so new hires, the way I've done it in the past, new hires 6 months. Every other employee, it's every single year on their anniversary.
So will there be a person, like a city treasurer person?
Yeah.
Contact? Or, you know, you're just saying how to, Greene, well, I talk to Greene all the time about these tax issues, not necessarily for myself, but for others, and I, you know, I'd like to know that there's someone you can contact that.
Yeah.
And also, getting private water bills, things like that, I mean, they take forever to get, or, you know, up late, whereas, you know, before, they have them the next day. So, you know, I just feel like there's such discourse and not taking care of the residents' needs at this point. I don't know, but I really like to know if there's someone that can be contacted, a real person, instead of just calling back Fran.
Yeah, on the day-to-day, Jess Miller, our deputy treasurer, she is our day-to-day contact for finance. So if
Who
you-
is that?
Jessica Miller,
Oh,
she's our
okay.
deputy treasurer, so if you have tax questions or anything, it's in my office naturally Monday through Friday. Feel free to give her a call, and then hopefully in a couple months, we'll have a new finance director, city treasurer on board, and change things going that way.
Mike,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
would you mind just, telling us who the staff are and what their roles are? Sorry to put you on the spot.
And remember everyone's last names and stuff.
That's all right.
So we have Miss Jacqueline. She's our administrative assistant. She helps out with pretty much everything from collecting payments, doing community room, to everything else we need. We have Miss Martha. She's water billing and accounts payable. So she's the one that gets bills out. She'll answer all your water bill questions, and then she also gets payment out to our vendors. From there, we have Rob. He's our code enforcement supervisor. So he does code enforcement for the city and also assists with the building department, who is outsourced to McKenna. We have Patrick Kelda, city clerk, does everything city clerk related, including elections, meetings, and everything like that. We have Jessica Miller, who's our deputy treasurer, handling the majority of the finance roles right now, on top of doing her day-to-day, which is more the HR side of finance, which is payroll, taxes, everything like that. And then Susie Steck and Brittany, who serves our DDA, from our DDA director and DDA manager, so they handle everything from economic development to planning, everything to our downtown, and then naturally you have me who oversees all this.
Okay.
And naturally all our police folks,
Yeah.
everyone I think
okay.
knows what
Thank
police
you.
do.
Thank you, that's helpful.
What's your experience with grants and legislative dollars, and are either of those worthy of being considered as supplements to, in a real way, to our budget?
Absolutely. I've done everything from small micro grants to foundation grants to congressional directed spending. I've been part of that throughout every single community I've been in. Lathrop Village is that unique aspect where we have to be kind of choosy where we go after grants because we do not meet a lot of thresholds to qualify, but it is something that staff is very aware of, and that's something we look at every single week.
You do. So you see that as a potential significant 1, 2, 3, 4% or whatever that could be uplifted by grants and additional money. You're not seeing that now.
Potentially. When I budget though, I'll never budget grant revenue until I know we have it. Because that's just
Thank you.
if you budget grant revenue, then all of a sudden you don't get the grant, you just
Yeah.
kind of screwed yourself. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's something we evaluate all the time.
Is the DDA funded by a grant or is it funded through the city?
Nope, they have DDA tax collection. So they're a TIFA district, Tax Increment Finance Authority. So they get, it was 2 mills when it was set up for just the commercial corridor. So those people pay an additional tax to fund the DDA.
So there's no money that comes from the cities?
We have a cost share agreement with the DDA. So the city itself pays for 10% of the DDA staff, and then some other ancillary costs are split.
So why? And can that be revisited in the budget?
When their contract's up, the contract has another year or two left, and that'll be something you have to revisit. As for why, they do duties that normally the city would cover by themselves. So anything like planning commission related, or just any economic development or planning related things, typically would just be funded by the city government itself. But since we have a DDA, that's where the majority of their salaries come from. So as of right now, I think the cost split for salaries makes sense. But it is something we'll evaluate within their contracts due in a couple of years.
What contract are you talking about?
The DDA and the city have a cost share agreement.
When that happened?
It can be changed.
2 or 3 years ago. At least that's the latest version I've seen.
And cost sharing in respect to what?
So everything from, we got city salaries right now. I know some of the accounting's covered in there. I'd have to pull it to get exactly, but there's a lot of little things that are split between the city and the DDA.
Or is it RAG supposedly? No, everybody doesn't.
Yeah, Mike, that's an area that we've had a lot of questions on, and we've gotten no really good answers. As the taxpayers, that doesn't sit well, especially when you look at the average person in this room right now. I would say the average person has lived in this neighborhood for 20 to 25 years. God bless your 7 years of experience. We have some people here that have, I'll tell you what, their experience level and their accounting and auditing background is unbelievable. So that is when we have questions. When we have MBAs asking questions and we never get an answer. So to the staff, what I would like to see from the staff, one is a reintroduction of who they are, what their job status is, and obviously now your performance reviews, you're new. We've had 5 administrative people here in the last, 8 years? So how often are they getting a review? And just asking. Jobs are competitive out there, okay? So we just want to make sure that the due diligence of what you're performing at is something that we feel comfortable with. So, thank you.
But would you do the evaluations for the DDA with the cost sharing, 10% or cost sharing, or is that done by the director of?
So you're talking about the cost share agreement?
Yes. Or
Yeah.
do you do the reviews, their performance reviews?
Oh, their performance reviews.
Yes.
I would do the review of the DDA director. She would be responsible for her second.
But not the manager.
Brittany's position.
She's a manager.
Oh,
Yeah, we can't hear
DDA director stacked with new Bernie's
Can you turn up the
Okay.
mic a little bit?
Sure
Could
can.
you repeat your question?
It's hard to hear your question. Please
Couldn't
speak.
hear your question.
Oh, I said, would he do the performance evaluation for the DDA,
Staff.
the 10% that we pay for?
Right, right.
Just wanted to. Would you do the evaluation for the 10%?
And your answer was that you would do the evaluation.
I do the evaluation of the director.
Just the director, not the
dir-
manager.
The director, to me, the director would be responsible for their staff, and then I would review their evaluation and see if there needs to be further.
But we pay them 10%.
How large is the DDA staff?
2 people.
So there's 2 people?
Yeah. I don't have the issue doing both. To me, this, just based off my experience, the person that oversees the day-to-day job of that person is the best person to give that initial evaluation. I only know, I'm not in their office all day, every day, so I need to rely on my staff to give feedback.
I think this is where the lines get blurred, because you're saying your staff, but you pay $10.90, but the city pays 10% of their salary. I don't care if it's 2%, it's, you know what I'm saying? 10% of what they do is for the city, so.
Noted. I got it.
So given that 10% would be evaluated, their performance of the 10% for the city would be evaluated by you. Who evaluates the other 90% of their performance?
So what I'm hearing from this is just we have to restructure how all performance evaluations are going. That's what I'm getting feedback
Well,
from you guys.
I think a big factor in that is that people are very, very unhappy with the performance of and the current experiences that we've had over the last several years, not just since January, it's been the last several years with the current team. And so there's obviously a disconnect there. And there's a lack of trust and a lack of feeling of that you're gonna have a reliable service and something that's constructive and positive, because many people have had different experiences with the team.
Okay, helpful. Thank you.
And I feel like going along with it, if you listen to what is going on with the comments about the DDA, you combine it with the comments that were made about residents, being more involved in volunteers, I think that it's essential, listen to this, it's essential that we open up the commission, maybe open up the DDA, open up these committees to all of the residents without any barrier. Nothing where you say, okay, we're only gonna choose the top 5. Well, who decides that? And that's part of the problem. You have a lot of qualified people in this room that are willing to do these things, volunteer, but they want a say, and they can't get a say. And that's, I think, one of the problems here, why you're getting so many different questions about DDA, about these committees, about these commissions. Let's change that, and I think you're gonna see a lot more cohesive community. That's my opinion.
About transparency.
I don't wanna keep on picking on the DDA, but, the DDA functioned, for many, many years with, supervision that was probably considered 50% of one staff member. And if I'm understanding you correctly today, the current director is allowed to hire independent of your permission or the council permission, the person she presently has as her manager. So the person that's charged with the responsibility to run the DDA has selected independently a person to help her. Then, who evaluated that she needed help?
I wasn't here when the person was hired, so that's the political answer.
Right.
But I'm getting the feeling from you guys. I'm starting to feel the frustration. I'm starting to understand.
To hire someone to help me out, and I could do it on my own. It's almost like it's a no-brainer. And I can tell you that the DDA is no further ahead with, basically 2 full-time employees than we were with the city assistant administrator handling the DDA tasks. It's a lot of money that the city
increased by $12,000 because after the Parks and Rec director left, that person was supposed to handle the city events. And then all of a sudden that disappeared and we have this almost $50,000 position that I really don't know what the purpose was or that it wasn't created out of need for work or what's been going on, just look up and down. It's how they go. So anyway, I think a lot of the time some of the decisions that were made, they weren't made based on what is the need of the community, what are the priorities of the community. It was just based on what the people in the office wanted, what support they it wasn't anything that was coordinated with the community. And I think that has created a lot of issues.
Smart.
Which is why we appreciate you doing this tonight.
Yes.
This is
Never had
big
to-
deal.
Say thank you for coming, because no one was here like 5:20, I was fully ready.
Well, we had to see what other cars were out in the park. You know, there's been a little issues recently, Michael, and you look at the folks we have, we're good people, and we all will talk, okay? And that's the concern. We will talk. We just want to make sure that you understand us and vice versa.
Listening.
And nothing like this has happened.
We want to bring as much economics to the city, but you know what though? When taxes keep on going up, and we're not getting anything extra, you know what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So, I just have, this is unrelated, but doing the activities, one of the things I was using the money for, if we made any, and Pam was socking this money away, was to redo this room. I had a painter come in just to do a $5,000 facelift on it. I think uplifting, facelifting this room could bring, this is like our only revenue generator, renting out this room. And I saw recently that we want to give this room away to people. And I think we need to invest in this room. We need to bring revenue outside of the community and inside of the community to use this room. A lot of people are looking for places and venues.
And make sure people pay.
And make sure people pay. This shouldn't be a free thing. So anyway, I don't know where that little money went that Pam set aside, but.
I don't know. I'm just gonna cover this real quick. So whenever I put, just so you guys know, when I put study session material together, that little prompt to give away rooms away for me, that came from me. One of the things that I do in study sessions is to encourage conversation. If we just came to study sessions, I told council, oh, this is what we should do, yes or no. To me, that's not beneficial. To me, I'm always gonna prompt people with ideas. Will it be controversial sometimes? Absolutely. But to me, if we don't have the conversation on potential things, then I don't think that benefits anyone. So things like that, most of the time, will come from me. So if you ever have questions regarding stuff for study session packets or council packets, feel free to just reach out to me.
Well, on a related note to the cost, for instance, of renting a room, I totally agree that we should be charging, a fair price for the room. However, I also feel that, for a community organization, there should be a break, even if they're not an official 501c3. But, there are a number of organizations around town that have been active in the past and that kind of, in some cases, need to be sort of reinvigorated. But, to charge $295 or whatever the fee was that I saw for a rental for this room, and then to have to pay extra for the kitchen and what have you, I mean, that's just cost prohibitive for a volunteer, organization. And we have a number that have, that used to use this facility regularly. They paid, but they had a discounted rate. And I don't think anyone's saying we should be getting this for free, but I think there needs to be consideration given for organizations that are grassroots from within the community and that support community-related activities.
And I'd say I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my perspective is I just need it to be black and white. I don't need any guessing who knows who or who knows what from my staff. It's they hand the form, someone hands money, and that's it. So I'm just trying to make things as black and white as possible for my staff to make this renting this room or any other facility within the city as easy as possible.
So in other words, they should be able to get a discount rate, but not for free.
That's how I'm here for people. At the end of the day, I don't make the decision. I just try to prompt ideas and see where it goes.
Well, who makes that decision?
City council will make that decision.
Yeah, no.
So before we go dive down the community room rabbit hole, let's kind of circle back to budget. If we don't have anything else with this, I'll take a few
So
more
will
prompts
you
on this.
be reviewing, partnerships and, partnership contracts?
That's one of the things I've done over the past month is try to pull as many contracts as the city has
Uh-huh.
to see, one, if they're expired, two, when
Do they
will they
exist?
expire, do they exist, and then try to see what the best way to move forward is. Like, yeah, trying to evaluate all our official contracts is something we're working on.
Just wondering the rationale behind the cameras in the corner of the community room. Are we afraid that something's gonna be shoplifted?
Honestly, good security measure, but yeah.
I can answer that because I questioned it when I rented this room for my personal use and the mayor was able to FOIA it. And I questioned the cameras and they never had it on the form that you signed. And when I I brought it up, they went and put up the notices that this room is being videoed so that we will know. But he told me that they like that in case there's some theft or something, they can identify it. Chief told me that they're here for security, because things can get out of hand.
Yes, sir.
I think one thing that, this is picking up on what Tom said, we could do a skills inventory of the residents in the community. Some of us have lived here a long time, and are willing to donate our time, and, there's a lot of skills to people in this room. Some people don't think lawyers have any skills, but.
Yes, ma'am.
There's some talk about forming an ethics committee. We have a few lawyers and we obviously have a mayor that doesn't, she needs some help with ethics and public relations and treating people respectfully. And I don't know how that's gonna change. And it needs to.
Civility is a good word for it.
Yes. And accountability.
Anything else?
Just more opportunities like this. We have not had an opportunity to have conversations with people as a council member or as a resident. We have not had opportunities to just be able to share ideas and be listened to and respected for what we're saying. Whether you like what we're saying or you don't like what we're saying, you at least are being cordial and encouraging and whatever. And that is something that's definitely
Here.
I'll tell you this, naturally, Karen, you nailed it. Are we gonna agree on everything? Absolutely not. We're people.
We shouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said when I write things to council, the entire point is to promote discussion. I know in this line of work, I know I'm not gonna make everyone happy. That's just kind of what I signed up for when I came with this. But as long as we're willing to listen to each other and have a conversation, then I think we're gonna do very well together.
Like you said, in a polite, professional
Absolutely.
manner.
Yeah.
I think some of that has been lacking over the years.
don't bring a gavel.
Thank you for not gambling us.
Yes.
Is there something, this is off subject, is there something in the ordinance or somewhere written about media contact?
What do you mean?
Like, do you have a media representative, somebody to represent the city?
It wouldn't be an ordinance, that'd be a city policy. Oh, I can talk about that. So part of my task is to create a formal communications plan for the city.
Yes.
So things like that would get covered in that, but it'd never be like an ordinance, but it would be an official communications plan policy.
Okay.
Good.
Is there a
That's
policy in place?
not an official one, no.
Okay, now would that apply to council as well, or would that just
Yeah.
apply to staff?
No, it rolled through anyone that's on board, council, staff.
Okay, all right, thank you. Good.
One of the things too is, our charter says that council members are equal. The mayor runs the meetings and that kind of thing, but otherwise you're on the same playing field. And that has not been enforced at all. So if, going forward, if we can make sure that, the full council is involved in important decisions and the full council is involved in, what's happening in discussions and whatever, because I know personal experience, there are a whole bunch of decisions being made by two people behind closed doors that nobody knows about, that no transparency, so that isn't how it's supposed to be. That's what the charter says, that isn't how it's supposed to be. So if we can, do something about that, really following the Open Meetings Act. I got accused of all kinds of things, but Open Meetings Act is not followed properly. So just making sure that those kinds of things are, we have so many processes and procedures and ordinances here that would handle a lot of the issues that we have, but if they're not followed, then it doesn't matter. But we don't need more of that, we just need to make sure that, that people are following what is there, so that it doesn't matter who's standing where you are, so it doesn't matter who's sitting at the council table. It doesn't matter that the city still continues to run and residents' needs are still met. To just keep that stability and consistency, that's, to keep our community.
I believe there's also a part of the ordinance that talks about relationship between council and the city staff. And that there's supposed to be a line drawn there, and what I've heard, and I don't know this myself, but is that there's a lot of interaction between council and staff,
Oh, okay. I get where you're going. Okay.
So again, it's already written, but it's not being enforced.
Except for some.
And it's been a while since I had a civics class, but I remember that there were two forms. There was strong mayor and a city manager form of local government, right?
Right.
As far as I know, we have a city manager form of government, not a strong mayor.
Right.
Not like Detroit or Chicago.
Factually correct. Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Mike, I had just one question. We've had some sidebars on the Lakewood Village Charter and how updated it is, or have there been any updates to it recently? And if there have, is that something we can get is that something in the city information to review? Well, no, isn't that what we're running our city under? So that should be on the wall or something, you know what I mean? And
That's a lot of words, but I'm
well,
old.
I know. But I'm just saying, as far as obviously you've reviewed it, and what are your thoughts on what our charter stands for in relationship to how we're running our day-to-day business?
Like most cities, it needs to be updated a little bit. Naturally, there are some things that conflict with new state laws and rulings. I know our city attorney is aware of that, and naturally changing charter is never easy, so it's going to take some time. But it is something we are aware of. Naturally, the first thing you want to do is make sure you meet all state requirements based on your charter, and then from there, I'd say you can kind of take on the little more ancillary things that might benefit everyone. But it just like any old city, it needs some love.
I have a resident on live feed who wants to know about the city credit cards that are in circulation and the accounting that's not being supplied, the expenditures on those city credit
It's been
cards.
mentioned in the audit.
I'd say since
several
I've been
years.
here, it's been well tracked. We have about 4 or 5 city credit cards out there.
I believe it's 6.
Not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have probably 5 then, because I know one for sure is back. But yeah, as of right now, I've experienced no issues with them.
Two things.
Yep.
First of all, in our charter, the hierarchy is residents, council, staff.
Yep.
That's not how it's been, how we've been treated at all. That has to change. And,
That's okay, that was good.
So if that's it, thank you guys for coming. I do have one little last kind of school exercise. I have stickers up here. Naturally, you guys wrote a lot of things down on the wall. I have to read all this over the next couple days, type it up, and make sure I understand what's going on. But to help me further understand what you believe your top priority is, there's 3 color stickers up there. Naturally, green, yellow, and red. If this you believe is the most important thing we should be focusing on this next year, throw a green sticker on it. If you think it's a priority, but not the toughest thing we need to worry about, a yellow. And then if it's something you're like, okay, if there's enough money, yeah, sure, throw a red sticker on it. That way it helps me kind of get a good gauge. I have a little point system in my head, but it lets me understand what you guys truly think is the most important.
What was
So you
most
want
important again? I'm sorry.
Each person to
Yeah,
do that,
each
or
person. So there's gonna be
group?
stickers on all these things around here.
Or each team?
Nope, each person.
Each
Because
person.
each person. I bought a lot of stickers.
Okay,
What was the
So-
priority?
Green would be
is
top
most
priority,
important.
yellow would be medium, kind of like a stoplight, and then red, the lowest of your
Can we
3.
do this again in 6 months?
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, I just had to think of what the date was. So sometime in August.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
September.
After a month off.
Fast.
Thank you, Mike.
So if that's it. Grab some stickers and walk around. I'll be here for a little bit.